Sheshadri's Talk Show. Sheshadri's Talk Show.
Hi, Mr. Shreeram. Welcome to Sheshadri's Talk Show. I'm really very pleased to have you here for my podcast. This is our first official podcast. I have been waiting for this day for very long. Thanks for taking out time. Welcome to our show.
Hey, Mr. Shishada, it's truly a pleasure to be here and thanks for the opportunity. People know you in this entire gamut of startups, venture capital. You have done so well in technology and so on. So it is a privilege to talk to you. Thanks
Great.
for calling.
Listeners, Shreeram Iyer has been my co-founder and partner for a couple of startups. He's a great economist. There is a digital property called Technomist where he does technical as well as economic analysis on policies. He also talks about startups. He has been into some very great positions. I would not do justice if I really give that introduction. Shreeram, I would want you to really do this one for us. Over to you, Shreeram.
Hey, Sridhar, thanks for it. So, guys, I started my career as an technology engineer working for GE, General Electric. And after that, I joined TCS, Tata Consulting Services, in the strategy domain, worked mostly overseas with that in Australia and Germany. And after that, got opportunity to work with family offices, a few of them, and to make some deals which are of private equity size. And then felt of doing entrepreneurship for a couple of ventures. Sridhar was my partner. After that, I joined T-Hub, which is world's largest startup ecosystem backed by government of Telangana. I was vice president for that and also head for the entire startup ecosystem for the state. Then from there moved on further and became country head for startups at Ernst & Young for India as a country, as a geography. And then again felt that entrepreneurship is probably one of the finest things to do and became an entrepreneur again. So that's my background.
Great, thanks, Sriram. So, listeners, I'm just going to keep it in a very simple format. We are not going to dive too much into one single topic here. Definitely, we are going to have Sriram as part of our speaker series and other set of podcasts too. For this one, we are just going to cover 6 questions, and I just want to keep it a little humorous too. So, we will cover sections about one is business and entrepreneurship, 2 health and wellness, 3 technology, 4 news and politics, 5 a little bit of humor as I said, and 6 how people really can deal with situations which are not really regular one when we have to encounter mysteries. So I'm going to keep it a little bit fun and understand about Sriram's background and his experience in these 6 areas. So, Shreeram, are you ready for this?
Sure, absolutely. Just shoot. Happy to answer.
So, I'll start with the first one. This is about business and entrepreneurship. So, Shreeram, as an accomplished venture capitalist and also somebody who has done a lot of analysis on the economic side and the situation of the startups, you have undoubtedly seen countless business pitches. What advice can you offer to aspiring entrepreneurs on crafting a compelling pitch and securing investment in today's competitive landscape?
Shrey, that's a very interesting question, and I can share a few perspectives. See, what we need to understand, what an entrepreneur needs to understand is venture capitalist is also a human being, and they have limited resources. So technically, what venture capitalists they do is they put in their money and they also bring in a lot of money from a variety of HNIs. And from that perspective, if you see, venture capital company may have a portfolio of investments of different companies or different of business which are related to each other or businesses which are not even related to each other. So it would be really great that if a entrepreneur who's trying to pitch in their startup sees and does in some kind of analysis that what is the current portfolio of this venture capitalist, what kind of companies is he or she investing right now, and how would their technology, their services will add value to it. So probably if there is something that I might have a SaaS company or some technology company or maybe something else Now, if somebody is coming to pitch me and say that, hey, this is what I am going to do, and this is what it helps your portfolio. So from that perspective, if there is some that kind of an homework being done, that really helps. You don't need to be very much like, hey, my company will do this is for portfolio. You need not see that, but at the end you should also have that kind of framework or background in the mind that, hey, this is how, if I'm going to talk about that, this can, so suppose I'm working something on triaging, if you have an AI solution, or I'm working with some kind of similar kind of softwares which can help me to triage, probably you can say that, hey, I got this kind of mechanism, so that is going to help me somewhere. That is one thing. Second thing which needs to come is like, that, hey, every person feels that, hey, what I'm going to do is really phenomenal product or phenomenal service. So from that perspective, the second thing is like, we need to tell that, that how your product is bringing the ease. See, at the end of the day, what we need to do is like, the ease and economy. It's a 2E mechanism, that how your product or service is giving me some kind of an ease. At the same point in time, it has to be economic. So if you have this balance of 2E's that you are able to do and put the same thing in a wonderful story, I guess that is where it will make sense. Because if you're talking about economic, that how economic it is, that means you have really thought about the volumes and other things which will come into the picture. So you are telling me how my product gives me an ease, how it is economic, and you have an idea of reflection of my portfolio that brings in immediate attention that, hey, probably this is something where I have to pay my attention.
So balance of two ease, that's a great advice. And definitely keeping in mind the investor's portfolio. I mean, that's an easy match. So I really hear what you're saying. Thanks for that advice. I come across that question a lot of times from my mentees, and I feel like this is really useful coming from you, Sriram. Cool. So we'll move on to the next question, Sriram. So the next one is about health and wellness. So for the world of finance, it is very stressful. We all know how stressful it gets when it is all about numbers, profit, revenue. So what strategies or practice and wellness do you recommend for maintaining a healthy lifestyle, a work-life balance, and ensuring like there is this whole mental well-being while people really work as entrepreneurs, or maybe they have to deal with like this whole financial pressure? What's your advice for that?
There nothing stops in this world, so you need to be aware that, if not you, maybe somebody else, if not your startup, maybe some other startup. So that's always there. So don't think that, if you're not going to do it right away, you will die or something will change the world. So from that perspective, the world does not stop. We have seen that way. So health and wellness from that perspective becomes very important. And what works for me is like, what I do is like, when I'm in car and I'm driving alone, I probably put on music and probably I sing along. So that helps me to bring down my stress. At times what I do is like I hear songs and I go for a long walk. So what needs to be done is like, something you need to identify that what is your hobby. What is that one single thing that will bring your stress levels down? Is it meditation? Is it running? Is it jogging? Talking to friends? Something of that sort one needs to identify and needs to, because you are as good as your health. If it really spoils, nothing can be done. So from that perspective, whatever helps you to bring down that stress, because it's going to increase. You need to, if you are an investor, say venture capitalist, you always know that you have to be honest, transparent to your LPs, and you might not always have a good news for them. You need to tell how things are working. At the same time, when you're an entrepreneur, you have pressures from your customer, you have pressure from quite a lot of things. So identify that one thing that gives you peace. Start putting in some time to it and see how you can manage that. Also, one more thing which I would like to add is like, don't take your mobile phone while you're sleeping, and don't carry your mobile phone while you're eating. Probably these are two things that you should get rid of.
That's really very important advice. And I know, Sriram, that you are a meditation practitioner. I'm pretty sure maybe there will be one more session on that topic completely, that and your experience around it. So I think we'll move to the next question, Sriram. This is about technology. As a technomist, I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy this one because this covers both aspects of it. Technology is driving force today in investment landscape. So what emerging tech trends do you believe will have the most significant impact on venture capital and finances in the next decade?
See, Shreya, this is a very important question. The thing is like, there are so many things which are happening right now, and people really have to see, it's not providing enough opportunities to say that, I'm going to wait and I'm going to think about it, how it is going to. But there are few areas which are really picking up like anything. Especially there is a geopolitical pressure with SDG goals and others, wherein people are talking about renewable stuff, green energy. So that's one segment which is picking up. But at the same time, for emerging countries, graphene is one area where people need to see. We have not seen that much in India. Similarly, we need to see that the companies which are really doing good in technology also need to think about quantum computing, that how those things can come in. So is there something that can be done in this area which will open new portfolios of thinking, that what can be done apart from it, from the existing technologies that we talk about? I guess blockchain has not got its credit still yet, and probably next couple of years could be very interesting to see, especially after the G20, when government is saying that, hey, we need to bring in more transparencies in agri-tech, we need to bring in more transparencies in terms of economics and revenue. So I guess from that perspective, blockchain could be a next thing which really picks up well in next 6 months to a year's time.
I'll quickly recap. You talked about blockchain as one of the important areas where we are going to see a good transition coming in next couple of years. For sure, we'll be actually covering one more section on blockchain. I know like finance blockchain is something that we have been working on together. So we'll definitely have one segment to detail out things, how things can get better from Indian context, from global context, what are the use cases and all that bit. Cool. So moving on to the next segment, my next question. This is about news and politics. I know for sure I've seen a lot of your updates on LinkedIn where you talk about public policy. So again, I'm just going to put a question across to you that how do you see the intersection of finance and policy shaping the future of investments? And I'll actually add one more question right away. Like, what are the key political factors that investors should keep an eye on in the coming years? So we'll take one at a time. So we can start with the first one of intersection of finance and policy shaping the future of investments, please.
So Sridhar, I'm student of Professor Jagdish Seth, and interestingly, in 2009, when he came to take a few lectures, and we had a very interesting debate back then, saying that so there are part or five forces, and it's being written in one of the forces that government policies also needs to be seen. And we had this discussion in the class of why don't we think that that we should take government as, rather than it's out of those five forces it's written somewhere, why don't we make it as a separate force? Because government can make in something, and action from government can actually shape up business in both positive or negative way. So from that perspective, and he was also of the opinion that it really impacts probably the way the economies are shaping up. Probably that could be a new version of Potter, rather saying that it's a five force. We should also think government as bringing it as a six force. Now, especially if you see from an Indian perspective, till 6-7 years back, nobody was nearly really caring about startups. But after we got in the central government, which is so focused on startups, everybody is saying that hey, startup is an industry in itself. We never saw that thing before. It was only 7 years back. And if you also see, so policy making becomes very important in terms of what kind of schemes can help startups, what kind of schemes can help minorities, how we will really create capacity buildings, and all these things we have seen shaping up US very well. If we take history of Oracle, Cisco's, and all those companies which really got supported from that point in time, and many other companies from that perspective across the globe, the government shaping up things well. It's very encouraging to see, especially in India, wherein state governments are also saying that hey, we would like to come up with our own funds that which will invest money in startups. So these are very encouraging steps, and this will really help to shape things better for startups. So policy is very important, and by at the end of this entire stuff that we talk about startups, the most important thing is how your policies are helping you to create better ecosystems. If your policy is not helping you to create better startup ecosystems, then in that case you will never get unicorns, you will never get good startups, you will not be able to harness the energy of the youth to get real good startups. So that is the first part. And second thing was, I guess you were talking about the political factors, which is that. So I would say that what really needs to be seen from that perspective for any investor in any of the company is the political stability. That how visionary is the government and what kind of stability they have. I guess these are two paramount or most important factors which any investor would like to see, that hey, how good the government is, how stable the government is, and how visionary they are. If this is there, then absolutely investors can really think about getting bullish on the sectors.
Thanks, Sriram. So, we will definitely talk about policies in detail. I know there is a lot you have done for few state governments on writing policies. Something that is very close to my heart is a document that we worked together on, which was on deep tech and India 2047. So, probably there will be one special segment and maybe a podcast itself that we'll cover on this bit. So, I'll quickly move to the next one. This is like a little humorous. I know, like, you're a very serious guy, and I'm not going to make it too funny, but I would want to know, like, maybe one unexpected moment from your career where you were dealing with this all VC and financial domain and some serious business basically, and some unexpected moment from your career that brought smile to your face. Share that with people, because people should know behind a serious face there is always these situations and time, and there is humor and a little bit of comedy that happens as well.
Once when I was working with this one of the HNIs families, when you working that, and there was supposed to be deal, and it's like an investment that we need to do. I was supposed to talk to somebody who is quite affluent, quite well known, and it was too early. I'm talking about almost like 7-8 years back when this was just getting started. And this person was not able to understand that how this startup really works, how the valuation of company will go, and even if the valuation of the company is going up because of the good work, how to really talk to the next person and do that. And interestingly, this person is not too, I would say that, too educated from that perspective. So I took example of this movie called First Gary Obama. So in that movie that you see that this person, he gets kidnapped, and then to bail out, to get that money, he talks to the next goon, saying that hey, to the current goon, that hey, why don't you go and why don't you give me as a why don't you place me as some kind of asset under him, you take your money and let me talk to the next goon that what should be my valuation that he should do. So from that perspective, I made him understand, taking instances from that movie, that how really the venture capital should work, or how the valuation really works out. So I don't see that in more laymanish way I would have taught venture capital to somebody else.
Great, thanks for sharing that story. So I'll just move to the final question now. This might sound too dramatic and too romanticizing. We know, like, in the world of venture capital investments, there is a lot of resemblance of detective work, because you really need to go into details. Companies usually, or startups usually, don't reveal all the details. Founders are really worried about not getting the valuation or the kind of ask they have for the money. So they don't really give away all the information. For me, this is like a true crime story. I'm not saying somebody's criminal, but again, it's like a true crime story of a financial or investment mystery that you have encountered till now. Or maybe you were able to, like, get to the roots of it, figure out it was actually happening, and they were not giving that data or things like those. Would you like to talk about one of those stories?
This is really very nice question, and I was actually talking to one of the well celebrated company secretary, and I was asking him that hey, you get opportunity to work with people who are of very high repute, and quite a lot of people who are sitting in the boardroom, and it would be very different, right? When you see people of that stature coming in, and you are talking about companies which have, like, few $100 million or probably $1 billion. So he was telling me that, no, Shreeram, what really happens is, like, we get to see the real person, because at the end of the day, it's all like human behavior. It's nothing more than human behavior. And that's what it is, Sridhar, that when we talk about startups, or if we talk about any businesses, what happens is, like, people, they tend to hide. And there is a very good theory in economics also, which come in that people don't tell you this thing, what's it, you only know what it is, and kind of stuff. And that happens quite a lot in venture capital also, when you want to, not only venture capital, private equity also. So the thing is, like, for every deal that you do, there is importance of due diligence, wherein you have to see financially, you have to see from a technology perspective that the whatever product they are saying, is it really worth it, and a lot of thing goes in. So one story which I would like to tell you is, like, there is one what do you call it, there was some it's beyond the size of venture capital. So it was on a private equity side. So there was this family office wherein I was working, and they wanted to actually take over. So they said, so there was some angle of heavy power which was forcing us to invest money into some company. And The thing is, like, the family of us was not so sure that whether we can, because it is coming from that kind of a privileged place. So do we have audacity to directly say no to it? The idea was like to invest some money into for what you call in a coal mine, wherein what you have to do is you have to go and you have to put in big machines and dig in coal, and the investment was like of such that we'll share the revenue as it comes. And what happened, it was so well staged. So the day when our team or where our people had to go there, it was like they had gotten all dumpers, all big machineries, all those things on rent to show that the project is actually working, the things are actually working. And but what happened is, like, one of the person who was working with the investor and we both went to that place, and when we were seeing it, we felt of going to a nearby chai ki tapri. And then we asked that person, hey, how long you might be earning quite some money here, because you might be getting so many trucks, so many people coming in. And he was like, so that guy, out of frustration, "Arey sir, kuch nahi, there is nothing happening in this area. I don't know who has come here. They bought in so many trucks and so many dumpers today. Otherwise, nothing happens here." And then that gave us suspicion that, hey, probably that these things are really not working out well. And what I want to say is, like, the information getting in that right from right source, depending on the nature of the business. If it is technology, you have to go to a technologist. If it is probably a bank kind of a thing, NBFC, you really have to talk to somebody who's into coming from that business. So you need to get in some expert who understands both finance or the business nature, and probably try to get into nitty gritties, because when it's the bigger amount, bigger bet, more than anything else, it's the credibility that you're putting in before that investment needs to be done. So you see quite a lot of things, and you need to pull out at the right point in time. Probably it's not bad to say 100 no's, but you should know when to say yes for the one time.
That's absolutely great. So I think with that, I'll call it a wrap. Thanks a lot, Shreeram. I really want to express my gratitude for your time and participation. I know you really have a very tight schedule usually, and then traveling this far for this podcast, taking out this time and sharing your insights and perspective were really invaluable, and it is always invaluable for us. And our audience greatly would be benefited from what you have really shared, especially people who are willing to move into venture capital or angel investment, or maybe even entrepreneurs who are trying to find insights. This is very useful for the whole ecosystem. Thank
Thanks
you once again, Shreeram.
Thanks for the opportunity, Sridhar. Always looking forward to speaking to you or discussing things with you. And it's always a great opportunity to talk to a person who understands business, technology, everything. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thanks, listener. Stay tuned for the next one. We'll have one more similar, enticing podcast coming soon in a week's time. Stay tuned. Thanks.
Sheshadri's Talk Show. Sheshadri's Talk Show.